Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a great day today, and in this video we're going to be doing a review for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles trilogy from the 1990s that many of you are probably familiar with. And this was actually the first comic book franchise to have a trilogy of films, unless you count the Superman movies that starred Christopher Reeve. I guess that was a trilogy until it turned into a quadrilogy, but otherwise this was very early on in the comic book superhero live action movie genre, so it was very different from the types of comic book movies that you get today. But overall, to just kind of hop right into the review for the first movie that came out in 1990, this one is actually surprisingly good. It found a great way to kind of blend the action and comedy you would expect from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It knows when to get a little dark, but it also knows when to be lighthearted. There's just a really good balance there. And the Ninja Turtles suits actually look pretty good. I would even say they look better than what they did with the CGI turtles in the live action Michael Bay movies. And overall, when it comes to the turtles themselves, I feel like it did a good job of kind of establishing Raph's personality, where he does have kind of these anger issues, and he doesn't always want to hang out with his brothers. And it also did a good job of establishing Leonardo's personality, of him wanting to be the leader and that kind of stuff. But I will say, I do think they could have done a better job with Donatello, because they kind of just made him pretty much have the exact same personality as Michelangelo. Nothing really happened in the film that really showed how he's the smart one. And that's one of the few things that actually got improved upon in the other movies. But other than that, the turtles are pretty fun, seeing them interact with each other and fighting people. Splinter was also pretty cool in this movie, as he's their mentor. And you get some other good characters like April O'Neil and Casey Jones. And just overall, the action is pretty good in this movie. It's pretty exciting. It doesn't do anything too crazy with buildings exploding and that kind of stuff like there is in superhero movies all the time now. It just sticks to the martial arts, and that's what I appreciate about it. And Shredder is actually a really good villain, as well as just the whole Foot Clan and how they kind of lure teenagers in. It's just overall pretty interesting, and I will say the cinematography is also just pretty good overall for this movie. So on the quality scale of 0 to 100, I'll give the first movie an 86%. But that brings us to the second movie, Secret of the Ooze, which came out in 1991. Now, this came out less than a year after the first Ninja Turtles movie, and they weren't even completely sure they were going to make a second movie until the first one just performed pretty well at the box office. And you can definitely tell that the story in this movie is nowhere near as deep, but it is actually surprisingly pretty entertaining. It is kind of a shame that they kind of toned down the violence in this movie, and the Turtles couldn't use their weapons because parents complained the first movie was too violent. But they did a pretty good job of finding alternatives to work with, and this is pretty much just as funny as the first movie. And it is pretty neat what they do with the Ooze and it tying into the Turtles' origins. Nothing too crazy, but just pretty entertaining throughout. It's got some good enough action, and it is pretty crazy how they bring Shredder back, and then they have that giant wolf and snapping turtle that honestly look a little bit disturbing. And this has one of the craziest final battles where there's this Vanilla Ice concert, and then the Turtles have to fight Super Shredder, which honestly looks insanely good for some reason. It's actually kind of a shame that there was only one fight scene with him. But overall, on the quality scale of 0 to 100, I'll give this movie a 68%. That brings us to the third and final installment to this trilogy, and I'm just going to address the elephant in the room. This movie is just terrible. It's just boring, and quite frankly, it's bad. Not to mention, it's just awful. The budget in this movie was obviously so much lower. That's why you really only see kind of the set piece of the sewers, and then the stuff outside they filmed in the woods somewhere. And I have no clue why, but in this movie they made the turtles' suits look different. They're like more rubbery, and just the eye movement and mouth movement kind of changed. It's really distracting, and it makes the movie kind of painful to watch. And the plot of this movie also is just really dumb, where they're traveling back in time to Japan. And just overall, quite frankly, it's pretty forgettable. The special effects are not good. Not to mention, they completely wasted Casey Jones in this movie. I don't know why they thought it would be a better idea for him to just stay in the present time instead of going on the adventure with the turtles. That was just a bad idea. So overall with this movie, the story was just really weird. The execution was not very good, and they did not have a good budget to work with. So on the quality scale of 0 to 100, I'll give this a 34%. But let me know what you think about this trilogy in the comments section down below. What's your opinion on these different films? As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.